The UEFA Super Cup is going to see two Italian goalkeepers face off at Udine. We have Vicario, who won the Europa League with Tottenham, is going to return back to his birthplace of Udine. The Super Cup is going to be held at Udine. He started out with Venezia. It's where he kind of made a name of himself. It's Venezia, that's Gematria of Inzaghi's 35th loss as Inter manager in the Champions League final. His 35th loss is going to happen against Dembele, who's going to win Ballon d'Or. It is Dembele, that's Gematria 35. It's also Barcelona's revenge, that's Gematria 35. Dembele used to play for Barcelona. The Super Cup at Udinese's stadium. It is Udinese, that's Gematria 77. It is Vicario that's going to be there. And Dembele's full name is Gematria 77. Now it's Luis Enrique that's going to win his 77th match as Paris manager in the final. And then it's off to Udinese for the Super Cup. His 77th win as PSG manager against Simone Inzaghi. Simone Inzaghi is Gematria 77. His 77th win occurring against Inzaghi. Spurs would face off against the Qatar-owned PSG club in England's 21st appearance in the Super Cup. Spurs is Gematria of 93. It is Ligue 1's first Champions League title since 1993. And PSG are going to win their 93rd Champions League match against Inter for their first title, Ligue 1, since 1993. And then they face off against Spurs in the Super Cup. End of a drought for both France and Tottenham. Champions Gematria 43. PSG are champion for their 43rd win of the season to win the Champions League. Notice how PSG have won 32 total matches domestically. Ligue 1 wins their first title in 32 years. And then when we go to Inter's record for the season, you will notice too that you will notice that in the Champions League, they're going to fall to 3 draws and 2 losses. 32 years later, Ligue 1 wins its first title. Now, Tottenham won the Europa League with 27% possession, and then they face off against Paris in the Super Cup. It is Paris that's 27. It is Ange that's Gematria 27. Ange scored 27 goals with South Melbourne during his playing career. He is Australian, and Luis Enrique's connection to Australia, he lived at Australia for a while to practice surfing. So that is Enrique's connection to Australia. Inter's 56 Champions League loss all time. They're going to allow 3 goals for their 56th goal allowed of the year against Les Parisiens. PSG are going to score 3 goals on Inter in the final. PSG are going to dominate them. 22 total matches that Inter would fail to win this year. They're from Milan. Milan is Gematria 22. Going back to Paris. Paris is Gematria 63. Tottenham in European football, they've played a total of 63 Champions League matches. They're up against, they return back to the Champions League. Then they face off against Paris in the Super Cup. So they've played a total of 63 Champions League matches. Right there, they've played 63 Champions League matches. And don't be surprised if Tottenham finish with 27 wins for the year if they're going to win their final Premier League match. Paris is Gamache 27. They could finish the campaign with 27 wins if they do beat Brighton. They have 85 goals allowed for the season. At the time of winning the Europa League 1-0, and 85 would be Gamache facing off against Paris Saint-Germain. In the Super Cup, they've allowed 85 goals at the time that they won the Europa League. $15 total matches to win the first Europa League under this new format, and then PSG having Gamache 15 makes the most sense. So yeah, that 27% possession is absolutely very revealing. But yeah, Vicario, so their bottle jobs, their failures. Postecoglou managed at Japan and Celtic. PSG is 42, and Japan is also Gamache PSG. You know, Ange managed at Japan, and then he wins the Europa League, and he faces off against PSG in the final. Japan having Gamache of 93. PSG win their 93rd Champions League match before facing off against Ange, who was a manager at Japan for a brief period. Tottenham FC under 25 is Gematria of Paris Saint-Germain. Football club is Gematria of Tottenham FC. Notice how Ligue 1 wins their first title in 32 years. PSG won 32 Europa League matches. But let's go to the amount of wins that PSG has had in the Champions League since under the new ownership group from Qatar. There's 40 matches, 48, 56, 64, 75, 87, 103, 115. They're at 131, like Gematria of Championship. How many wins has Qatar had in Champions League since owning PSG? 10, 15, 19, 20. Okay, let's start from the beginning. So 7, 13, 17, 23, 27, 32, 36, 44, like Gematria falling short of being champions in the final, so 44. 50, 54, 58, 63 total Champions League matches with the Qatar group. PSG is 63. There's 63 wins. They're at 73 wins right now. Since Qatar owned the team, Internazionale is Gematria 73. And their 74th win would be basically Nasser El Khelaifi. Nasser El Khelaifi is Inter falling to Al Khelaifi is Gematria 74. PSG's 74th Champions League ever since the Qatari ownership owned the club. Their 74th win in Champions League is going to occur in the final to win the Champions League. At the stadium of Bayern Munich. FC Bayern Munich. Okay, I always think it's 34, but FC Bayern is 74. That's what I meant to say. How many goals did PSG score in the Champions League since they lost the final? 37, 53, 63, 72, 105. They will get to 35 goals, 33, 35 again is Dembele. Let's see, Tottenham in the league. Plus 15 goal differential. PSG is the Comanche 15 that we speak about. So that is significant. Tottenham have scored 63 goals in the Premier League at the time that they won the Europa League final, because they're the Europa champions, and then they win to become the Europa champions, and then they face off against Paris in Super Cup. That's the meaning of the 63 goals in the 63 previous Champions League matches. Any Tottenham gematria with PSG in this? Donnarumma played with AC Milano. AC Milano is his Italian connection. AC Milano would be gematria winning the Champions League 32 years later, and then off to the Super Cup. August 13, 2025, over at Udine at Italy. Italy's gematria of, in the English language of Tottenham, gematria of first title in 32 years for League A1. Udine Italia 51 is gematria of PSG. FC is gematria of the Hotspur. So making sense of the location. Over at Udine, we see a former keeper of Venezia. Venezia's 82 like gematria of Udine. Vicario was with Venezia. Udinese's gematria of Donnarumma, who played with AC Milan, and PSG winning the Champions League without Mbappe. Greece, where Ange is from, is gematria of Inter falling at 3 and 4 in the final. He's born at Athens. Athens, Greece is gematria of Les Parisians. And again, Inter's 56th loss of the Champions League all time in their history, and 56 goals allowed for the season. PSG are going to score 3. Rodrigo Bentancur played with Juventus. He comes back to the Super Cup. Rodrigo Bentancur is gematria of Paris Saint-Germain. So the Italian connections of the players of Tottenham Rodrigo Bentancur. In PSG have same exact gematria. Iniesta age 27 as well, gematria Paris, at the time of winning the Super Cup. Kulusevski played with Juventus. He scored in the Coppa Italia final. At the time of winning the Europa League, he had 15 Premier League goals. PSG is 15 in gematria. He'll probably maybe be out for the Super Cup. "25 total goals like gematria of Italia." Scripted Super Cup completely decoded.